Hey everyone, welcome to Limitless Radiocast, episode 61. So in this episode, we're hanging out with Todd Shaffer. Talks about how he left the corporate world and started working for BJJ Fanatics full time. Also, how Tom Deblass befriended him and he became a BJJ black belt under Tom Deblass. We get into a lot of great stuff in this episode, everybody, so just sit back and enjoy. This show is also being brought to you by Thomas Webb of DeHoff Realtors. Buy with Stark County's strongest realtor. Are you in the market to buy a house? It's that time of year, the end of the school year. You're looking to move, you're looking to buy. Well, check out our friend Thomas Webb. You can reach him at 281-889-0140, as well as on Facebook, Instagram. He's out there and available. Stark County's strongest realtor, Thomas Webb, DeHoff Realtors. Be sure to check them out. This show is also being brought to you by Gateway Dental Care, Isaac Couteau DDS out of Worcester, Ohio. Go out there and check them out, especially if you're located locally or in Worcester, Ohio, and you're listening right now. I want you guys to stop. Take note of this place, Gateway Dental Care. They have an amazing dentistry business going on here. Check it out. Anxiety-free dentistry. Who wants to go to the dentist? No one wants to go to the dentist, but we have to go to the dentist. We got to get our teeth cleaned. We got to get things taken care of. A lot of us have kids. We need to do that kind of stuff. They do everything here, from oral checkups to general checkups to cleanings, oral cancer screenings, help you with teeth grinding, gum disease therapy, ceramic crowns, full mouth reconstruction, mini dental implants, composite fillings, extractions. They have it all. They take care of you, make you feel great, and want you to come back. Again, Gateway Dental Care, located in Worcester, Ohio. Check them out. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. So we have an amazing guest hanging out with us today. Chad and I have the privilege to hang out with Todd Shaffer. He's a BJJ black belt under Tom Deblass and trains out of Leverage BJJ. He's also the OG memer of BJJ Fanatics, amongst many other memes that I would say majority of people probably steal and put on every BJJ site, social media, Facebook, Instagram out there. So he's a huge contributor also to the BJJ Fanatics social media platform as well. Him and Chad have some background and some history together. So everybody, please welcome Todd Shaffer to the show. Todd, thanks so much for hanging out with us, man.
Thanks,
we appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate having me on.
Yeah, it's good to always hang out, especially with OG people, whether it's memers or Jiu Jitsu. I'm not one of those guys, but or both. Yeah.
Or both. Yeah.
And everyone out there, if you haven't seen it already, Todd, I believe you got your first stripe this weekend?
Yeah, first degree this weekend.
Congratulations.
That's awesome, man. Congrats.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's I compare it. I turned 50 this past month, and I compare it to just wrinkles. You know, you're surviving at this point and just getting those stripes. So
sure, for sure.
Every 3 years is a new wrinkle.
Yeah, I gotta stay alive a little bit longer.
Did you when you first started, were you like, I'm gonna get my black belt? Like, I want my black belt and I'm gonna keep doing this?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Like, I definitely was never going to quit. I had a brief moment, very, very brief moment, as a purple belt. I was on my second school and had a little bit of a bad experience, and I wanted to take some time off. And my current coach, Rob Heilman, who owns Leverage, he was a good friend. I'd known him from years before, and he just asked me to come in. He's like, you don't need time off, just come in one day, you know, you're not signing up. Like, he was a good salesman. He acts like he's not, he acts like he's not, but he was a good salesman and got me in the door. And as soon as I walked in, I felt like I was there for 10 years, and the rest is history. Never looked back.
Nice. It is vital. And so I'm a 3-stripe white belt, so obviously I'm super young. I'll be 45 in next weekend. So it's vital to have a good academy, like to feel comfortable, to feel welcomed, like especially with jujitsu. Like we've talked about it on the show so much, and Chad's talked about like creating that atmosphere at East Coast, because it's going to be the difference between someone staying and leaving.
For sure. I wouldn't trade. I wouldn't trade any step along the way. I wouldn't wish it to be anything different, even the bad parts.
Sure.
Because what I tell our students is, without those experiences, I don't think leverage would be as good. And our goal now is to just, it's kind of like a parent, they always want their kids to have a better experience than they did.
Sure.
They want to have more opportunities, and that's what we do. And there's a core group of us that, probably about 25 of us at Leverage, that all kind of started at the same place. And over time some went to different places, some went, some stayed, but we all gravitated back towards each other. And I find that really fascinating. But we're all together, and we had one of them, a guy named Paul Straley. He actually got his black belt after about 15 years of training, and a lot of kind of starts and stops and life getting in the way. He was actually a blue belt when I started, and so it was really special for me to. He also. I've been teaching a Sunday class. We didn't have a Sunday class when I started. I started it, and he's been my main uke for like 7 years. And
nice.
So it was just awesome to see him get his black belt this weekend.
That's so cool. Like, and you got to be a part of it. So you saw his journey, so to be a part of that. Go ahead, Todd. Yep. You're good.
No, I was just going to say, like, it was nice to see, like, somebody that used to just tool me when I was a white belt, and it was like the tortoise in the hare. Like he took a few breaks or a few detours. I just kept plodding along, and kind of passed him up a little bit. And but it's cool to look back and pull him forward with me. So yeah, I just love that.
And what's awesome about jiu-jitsu, and what I have found, and I've talked about on the show before, is that you don't ever expect that until you're like in it, till you're in jiu-jitsu, and then you find that brotherhood and sisterhood, and you find this something that you're like, it sounds dumb. And some people ask me now outside of the show that listen to a show, and they're like, that don't do jiu-jitsu, and they're like, I don't understand. Like, what do you mean? And it's like, you gravitate to these people, and like, you just feel like welcomed for, like, it's not the first time in your life, but it kind of feels like the first time in your life. It's weird.
Yeah. It's, you said it really well. It's unlike anything else I've ever experienced. And I'm sure guys in foxholes and guys on sports teams feel a little bit of that, but, there's just something about, man, slapping hands, bumping fists with a doctor one time, a police officer the next time, and a homemaker the next time, and a little kid the next time, and we're all in it together. We're all trying to go the same place, and we're all trying to use this goofy thing called jiu-jitsu to make everything else in our life a little better.
Yeah.
Yep, for sure. I think Tom and I could possibly screw this up because I'm a clicker too through social media. So much content.
For sure.
But I think Tom had a post recently that said something like that. Maybe he reposted it from someone else, but it was like, I roll with ex-cons, and I roll with this and that, and the lawyers and the doctors and the law enforcement. And at the end of the day, we have a ton of love for each other. Like, the world needs more jiu-jitsu in it, because we found a way to get along no matter what it is.
Yeah, it's such a common denominator once you're hooked. Like, I've never, we've never trained together, but we're already connected. You know what I mean? We're the ice is already broken on our relationship.
Yep.
We have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's what, and I've explained that to people, like that have been on the show. It's like, man, I felt like we're friends. Like I can, like if I seen you somewhere, I'd be like, hey man, how's it going? How's training going? Whatever. And it would already be an instant connection, not of like uncomfortable. And there could be someone else be like, hey, how you doing? I see you like every weekend at the whatever, you know what I mean? And there'd be nothing.
Yeah. No corporate job, no whatever can recreate this.
Yeah, at all.
You see your coworkers out and you're kind of like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you.
Not when you see a jiu-jitsu friend out, right?
Right.
No, you're like, well, when I see a jiu-jitsu friend from Leverage, it's usually like I give them a middle finger, and it's like,
right.
Yeah, that's how we greet. That's how we greet each other.
And that's my wife will go, oh my God, you're like in high school still. And I was like, well, I wasn't until I
100%
until I started jiu-jitsu. And then I was like, wow, I found my crew. This is awesome.
Yeah, I think there's something to that. I think I mean, we're obviously on a computer. This is beautiful. We get to talk, but technology has a dark side of separating us. And it kind of like we hide behind these fake screen names or these no profile pics or whatever. But there's something about jiu-jitsu that's like very tribal, and I think it's something that our DNA we crave inside of ourselves.
We need that.
And when you get into it, it's all about separation nowadays, and especially after what we just went through the last couple of years.
For sure.
Like I think human beings crave to like squeeze on each other and choke each other and wrestle around and just get aggression and stress and energy out in a healthy manner.
Yeah. And they like you like after you're done. You know what I mean? Like some people at times there's going to be like, dang it, that was a little dirty or whatever. But at the end of the day, you're hugging, walking away like, hey man, that was cool. And then next day, go ahead, Chad.
Yeah. I never thought about the way Todd said that with that instant icebreaker. We don't need to know anything else. Right. So we had yesterday, my buddy, Jason Anderson, he's a black belt under Carlos Machado. He runs World Kickboxing Academy's program. Right. So a couple weeks ago, he's like, hey, I'm going to bring some guys down next Saturday. Cool. I met maybe 2 of the 8 that came in. And like you said, ice break. We're done. Slap hands. Let's roll. It's just something that, like you said, it's in our DNA. We need that.
Yeah. It's a different language. Like we all speak a different language, or we communicate on this frequency that's jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Right. What year did you start, Todd?
2008.
Okay.
I was so right around 35, 36, age 35, 36, I blew out 2 discs in my lower back.
Oh man.
And I thought I was going to be a runner, and I had a friend that ran 10Ks and half marathons and stuff, and I really enjoyed it, but I was so slow because I'm just a bigger guy. I've always been a bigger guy. And but I loved sort of the process of running as slow as I was. And something happened one day, and I think it was partly because of you remember those old school Nordic tracks ski machines?
Yeah.
Where you're pulling on ropes and your legs.
Yep.
One day I heard a pop, and I didn't feel anything, and I didn't think anything of it. And so flash forward, a few months or whatever, and I had glasses at the time before I got my eyes fixed, and it was pouring down rain. I was leaving work, and I was going to my car, and I was holding my head in a weird way so I didn't get my glasses all wet. And I beeped my car, and I heard a snap, and all of a sudden I couldn't move, and I was just standing outside of my car, and I stood in the rain for probably 45 minutes. And I finally opened my door and like crumpled into the front seat, drove home, I actually crawled out of my car on my hands and knees to my house, and I was completely crooked. And here, two of the lower, like the L4 and L5, had burst out the side, and so I was tilted over. So long story short, I started going to a chiropractor, and I wanted to try to do another activity. So what do I choose? Taekwondo. They had just opened a martial arts school in my town, and I picked the absolute worst thing to do for a back injury. You know, hey, let's see how high I can kick.
You stretch and, stretch it all out.
Yeah. So in my brain, honestly, I secretly just wanted to do martial arts, and I was still like naive. And I don't even know at that time at 35, I don't think I'd heard of the UFC, but I hadn't watched it. And so I started doing Taekwondo, and that's a whole other story. But it wasn't good for me. And I had a good friend, Bill Jones, who you guys probably know.
Yeah. We've had him on the show.
Yeah. He and I worked at the same company, and he was like a lifelong martial artist. And he was telling me about Jiu Jitsu, and he invited me to a class with Tony Rinaldi. And I went, and my back had not felt that good in like a year.
Oh, wow.
So something about what we did, I believe I got choked out. So it probably killed the pain. But something about what we were doing, the movements, and the fact that I wasn't trying to spin kick in the air, kind of warmed up my back, and I felt great. And I told my wife, there were no schools that I knew of in my area. I told my wife, if I ever see a jiu-jitsu school, I'm signing up. And a local kid who was taught at another school, he did a 30-day program at a gymnastics school. It was just 30 days of jiu-jitsu for like $30. And I went, fell in love with it. He hooked me up with his coach, who turned out to be Jim Bundy in Niles, or he was in Niles at the time. He's in Howland now. And that's where I started. So I spent 3 years at that school. So yeah, it was 2008, and I was like 36 when I started.
Nice. Okay. You were still younger than I when I started. I was 40.
Yeah.
So it gives me hope.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Tom just posted a guy, Hamalo Bahal just gave him his black belt. I don't know how.
78? Is he 78?
Yeah, he started when he was 68.
Yeah.
So that's amazing.
It's still awesome. Yeah, it's super awesome when you see it, especially when you're in the community of jiu-jitsu, because you know how hard it is. You know what I mean? Like climbing that mountain is not an easy task. There's really, and we can joke about it, but I'm like, when it comes really down to it, you're not doing a whole lot of other hard stuff in your life on a regular basis than that. You know what I mean?
100%,
like in
100%.
Dad and I've talked about it, and you know this, Todd, because you've done it. You're doing it still to this day. Did you get some training in this weekend? Like before, did you know it was coming, or?
Yeah, we had the black belt promotion. I knew it was my 3-year anniversary, so nice. I kind of knew that was coming. And we had a no-gi seminar. Tom was in. Normally he does like a 2-day thing, but he could only do like Friday and then left early Saturday morning. So it was a little bit hectic. We had our promotion night, our promotions, and then right into a no-gi seminar. But it was one of the best ones he's done. He's nice. He's done like 5 or 6 at our school now. Pretty much every year he comes in the spring.
Very cool. That's awesome. That's a damn great opportunity to learn. What'd you guys learn? Or I say learn, but what'd you do?
He worked a lot of top game half guard passing.
Oh, okay.
A lot of it was interesting. He would show like a cluster of techniques with a concept over top, and it was almost more like a workshop per se.
Oh, nice.
Here's a move. let's drill this move. It was more or less, here's a bunch of different paths you could choose from this scenario. So it was kind of unique. He was in a different mindset, I think, that night.
It's kind of nice though, because it's like the spider effect. Like you start like at the top, but then you have these branches or a tree, whatever may have you. But I kind of like that. That's cool. That's different. And I'm sure it's a little bit easier for people who are more advanced in jiu-jitsu because they can see the path a little more versus like me. Yeah. I'm sure it would be a struggle for me to be like, I'd be like, I'm overwhelmed. I'm going one path.
I was even a little bit, to be honest, I was a little bit confused at points, but I don't learn a lot at seminars. Especially I sort of take I'm the MC of the seminar. So, okay. I'm kind of like shaking hands. How you doing? You need anything? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I had my class today and I had a bunch of first timers that had never done a Tom seminar. And I asked them what their biggest takeaway was. And I was really impressed. They admitted that, the cluster might have been a little bit above them, but they picked up key elements. Nice. And I told them, I still have instances where I'll be doing something and I'll think of something he taught me in 2016. Yeah. And I'll be like, oh, it finally clicked. Yeah. And it's probably just my brain, but he has a very unique style. When he teaches, I don't know if you've ever done a seminar with him. He always thinks he's boring everyone, so he moves really fast. Okay. He'll show something, and he'll give you 8 seconds to drill it. And I always try to slow him down, so I'm always putting the brakes on him. But he likes to just steamroll, which is good because you get more for your money.
Yeah. Sure. Seminars are tricky too. Workshops, seminars, whatever, because of the length they are, right? And even as experienced as we are and been black belts and stuff, you can take a couple things away and you're like, I'm done. We're under James Klingerman and I've had James in several times and he will just keep going. I'm like, dude, you got to stop. Like, yeah, we gotta shut this down.
I always joke that like I'm like a Commodore 64. I only have so much RAM.
Yeah.
And once it's filled up, I'm thinking about Simpsons episodes or something like that.
That's actually that's a meme. If you haven't done that yet, that's a meme for all us old guys. Because I'm like,
yeah, for sure.
He's exactly right. Because I've looked at Chad at a seminar before, and he's running around doing his thing, and I'll just be like, it'll be like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like this, eyes this big, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm cool."
You just gotta hold. You just gotta hold on. And luckily, Rob Heilman and a bunch of our other instructors, they have like photographic memories. So what'll happen over the next 6 or 8 months?
That's what
they'll be teaching this stuff. So it's like, oh yeah, that's what Tom showed. I figured it out finally.
Yeah. That does make it good. And that's what makes great instructors, and for you to be at a gym that does that, you know what I mean? They take that knowledge and they apply it. That's just not like Tom comes in, does a seminar, and then that knowledge is gone and it's like one and done. You know what I mean? Like you get to build on it.
For sure. We're very influenced by him. Like it's our half guard is pretty tough at leverage. And, we've got a couple other things that he does. But we've been lucky. We've had Gary and Gordon in a couple different times. And that you can't get much better, to be honest.
Oh, no. Well, yeah. See, much better.
People don't realize, like I always tell them, as good as Gordon is as a competitor or Gary is as a competitor, I think they're even better teachers.
Yeah. The way that they both speak is very good in the way that they teach. So when you know this, and Chad, you know this as well, when you speak to people, if you get them to buy in and then get them to understand. And I also think take Gordon, for instance. People, and Chad and I have talked about this before, people underestimate his brain power, how smart the young man actually is. They kind of think like, oh, he's like this dumb athlete. He runs his, and I'm like, the thing everyone doesn't understand, and Chad's actually the one that brought up, he's like, people don't think that he's smart and he's a genius. And I was like, he's really smart, really smart guy, so
it's like that beautiful mind type, savant type stuff.
Yeah.
It's
100%. I like to tell this story. I happened to be in Boston for something. I can't remember if it was like the Brown Belt Invitational or something. And Gordon happened to be there filming, so we kind of crossed paths. And Zenga, Mike Zenga, one of the owners of Fanatics, he's a forever student. Like, he's always got some question he wants to figure out for his game. And he just asked Gordon this random question. And Gordon grabbed Rob Heilman and did like a 20-minute seminar on Zenga's question. And it was like one of the most detailed things I'd ever seen, but he didn't know the question prior. And I would have never been able to come up with that without sitting down and like, hey, give me a couple hours, I'll break
it down. Sure.
Yeah, on the spot.
Gordon spit it out like a computer. And I was just, my jaw was on the floor.
Yeah, I heard somebody told me, I don't know if it was Klingerman or one of his guys. Gordon did a seminar, I think in Indiana, but he was injured or something. He couldn't like demonstrate, but he sat and talked through the whole seminar, and they were like, it was the best thing I've ever seen. He didn't demonstrate it himself. He just verbally taught it. And they said it was awesome.
I forget when that was, but I remember that period. He did a bunch of seminars and he couldn't actually be the one doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, to me that's Rain Man stuff.
It definitely is.
It's a different mind for sure.
Yeah.
Which is awesome for jiu-jitsu because it's like that. It's a puzzle solving martial art. Like, and once you get really good at, doing the 30-second Rubik's Cube in one hand, what I mean? Like you're kind of up here.
Yeah. I think we're at a special time where obviously there's a lot of good jiu-jitsu people out there, but you got these guys like, I say Gordon and Wiltsey, those two guys with their mind of jiu-jitsu. You ask, we've had Andrew in before, you ask him one question and 30 minutes later you have like crazy answer on the spot.
Yeah.
Right. I just saw something. He did a seminar for like 7.5 hours.
7 hours. I saw that.
And his back is jacked up and he still did it.
I gotta tell you, to be honest, I would have had like 2 naps during that period. Like, there's no way, there's no human way I could be able to sit through that.
No,
it's as wonderful as it is. It's just that's freaking nature stuff.
Yeah, we're actually bringing him back in June for a seminar, and he said kind of the same thing. I'll go over long. I'm like, dude, we got to put a time limit on it.
For sure.
Get some rolling in, but we might have to kick him out. I don't know. Or he's sleeping with Terry's couch. I don't know.
I'll build him a box in the back real quick.
Yeah.
Just get a speaker with that Grammy music, when their speeches
when you're
over, start playing it.
Play that. Yeah. That's awesome. Todd, did you think jiu-jitsu would be where it is now when you first started? I mean, could you imagine, from a social standpoint and to how big it is? Look at what Gordon Ryan's doing, obviously, and all the BJJ fanatic stuff.
Yeah. No. I when I started, I had a bunch of bootlegged. I got myself like a Henzo Gracie series from like I think it was Henzo and Craig Kukoc.
Craig Kukoc.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I had that. I think I got it on eBay or something. It was probably illegal. I don't even know.
Mine was.
I had that, and my instructor was a blue belt at the time. I had rolled with one purple belt, and I thought purple belts walked on water.
Mm-hmm.
And when I ended up after my first school, I ended up at a Hibero Academy. And my mind started going with jujitsu, and I started like, I don't even know if I don't remember the first meme I ever saw myself, but I remember seeing a picture of Hannibal Lecter making that face where he's like smelling Clarice.
Yes.
And I said, you know, that's a blue belt watching the new guy sign up. And so I made this meme and I put it on my own Facebook. I had like no followers. And I remember one day, you know, kind of going around the internet, and I saw it again. Someone else had posted it. And it just eventually, I started seeing it pop up. And they kind of started as just me being like expressing how I felt. Like, this is how I felt when I tapped for the 100th time, or when I, you know, couldn't finish the warm up or whatever.
Sure.
And I started seeing people connecting to them. And Solo, actually, I did a bunch for a seminar he was doing, and he actually like really liked them. And it kind of led to a connection with he and I. And he actually had me helping with their main website for a while.
Oh, nice.
Because of it. So that was like the first, I think, famous guy that kind of gave his blessing to what I was doing, and kind of gave me, you know how like somebody will laugh at a little kid, so then they'll keep repeating the behavior.
Right.
That's what happened. That's all that happened. Like Solo laughed, and I figured, oh, if he laughs, you know, these must be funny.
Like, I got to keep doing this.
Yeah, exactly. And then over time, I connected with a bunch of different groups or a bunch of different websites, and eventually ended up at Fanatics, and been there 5 years now.
Nice. Awesome. Well, I tell you, it's kind of funny. So I didn't know, this is a while ago, and Chad was like, he told me, oh, like Todd he does all the memes, like all the memes you see like about jujitsu, like are always out there. That's Todd.
Not all of
them, but he was giving me the precedence of like what you like, what I see and stuff. And I laughed so hard because I was like, they're great. And I go, oh gosh, I can relate to that.
I'll clarify for you. We'll clarify. All the good ones are mine.
All the good ones.
There you go.
Right on. Hey, it's good to bring humor into it because, again, it goes back to what we said earlier in the show. It's hard, man. So I had a good friend that I worked with when I was 16 years old. Actually, his mother. He didn't start. He was a little bit younger. So by the time I was 18, he started at the restaurant I was at, and his mother also worked there. Long story short, we go away we go our separate ways, and 25, 30 years later, I get a message on Facebook, and he's like, "Hey man, I just signed my entire family up for jiu-jitsu." And I was like, oh, that's awesome. He's like, yeah, I love your memes so much, I had to start.
Wow.
And honestly,
awesome.
That's probably like my biggest achievement.
That's awesome, though. That's like,
yeah.
It's just proof that you can bring someone to something so great. It's all about getting that one thing, or you did it knowing or going, hey, I just want to make one person laugh, or one person join jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean?
Yeah. If I can make somebody who feels like absolute crap after a class, if I can make a meme that says it's okay to feel like that and laugh about it, you know, it's going to get them back the next day.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
It takes a little bit of the ego and the stress away from it.
It does. And it makes you understand that everyone, because you both know this, you've been in this a long time. Like for myself, for instance, there are times, and I've talked about on the show before, when you're just like, I'm never going to get this. I'm never going to be good at this. It's going to be so hard. I hurt so bad today. Or, you know, I don't want to go back and do this anymore or something, you know, all that stuff, you know, and I go through that part. I'm pretty much over it regularly. Like it's never really that much of a question anymore. But still seeing something like that helps, like, because then you go, oh, okay, people are reading this and going, yes, I feel this way too. So you're not the only one. So it's like, yeah, because it's not like we all walk around with signs around our neck.
Right. It not only do we share the language of jiu-jitsu, I think I try with the memes to show that we share the suffering that happens in jiu-jitsu. We share the joys, we share the ups and downs, and Tom says it all the time. It's kind of become one of his catchphrases. We've got to love jiu-jitsu on the good days and the bad days.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, because when it's there on the good days, it's in life. You're going to have both. So, grind, push yourself, overcome, have good people in your corner, that are going to come.
I don't think there's ever been a day, we've all had those days where we've said, man, I don't know if I want to go to class tonight. And then you go and it's the best time ever. I don't think we've ever regretted that decision. Yeah. Right.
I was just talking to a bunch of guys about that. No matter how crappy your day is, you never leave jiu-jitsu unhappy.
Right.
Like you never, even on your worst day, say you went like it was Shark Tank night and you got beat up for an hour, you still accomplished that. And had you not done that, you would have just regretted your existence at that point.
Sure, especially being involved with it. And I'll hang out at the gym purposely. Say it's just a rough night where things didn't go my way. Nothing was working. And I hang out a lot at the gym afterwards, but it always helps too, just to hang out and like BS. And then you completely forget about whatever happened on that mat. And then
my Sunday class, I teach from 10 to 11 and then we roll or whatever from 11 to 12. But like today I was there till 1:30. Little pockets of people are just like chit chatting, exchanging ideas. They're not even talking about jiu-jitsu. And it's so nice to see because nobody's in a rush to get anywhere. They're all just hanging out, enjoying each other. And I think for me, it's like what some people go to like the bar and sit at the bar and chit chat or whatever. That's my experience. Just blow off, talk about your week, talk about your kids, whatever.
Yeah, and it's better than going to a bar.
yeah. Nothing against that, but
no, not at all.
But that's my social time is on the mat, off to the side of the mats after class is done.
Yeah, sometimes before and after class is the best part, talking to people. And we went to Grappling Industries in Pittsburgh last week, and the guys competed. We won some medals, but the best part was hanging out with everybody on the way there and the way home, and in between matches, and just talking and being in that element with everybody. That was the most fun for me.
Yeah. The Rob Howman and I, he's the one that owns Leverage. We always it takes us about an hour and a half to go to the airport to pick up Tom, and after we drop him off, it's an hour and a half back. It's like our favorite time because it's so stressful because we want to make it a great experience not only for Tom but for all of our students. So we're always thinking about what could go wrong, blah blah blah. So we're like these extreme party planners. And once the seminar is over, that drive home from the airport, where we're kind of unpacking all these little things that we didn't get to process during the weekend because it was so crazy. That to me is my favorite time. And that's where we like, here's what we did good. Here's what we can fix next time. And right. I really cherish that time.
Absolutely.
You dive deeper into your friendship, and then it's a rekindlation of going, wow, I haven't seen you in a while, but it's like I saw you yesterday. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We're not just on the mats teaching a class and like passing two ships passing in the night. We're like two guys that are trying to figure out, what's next for Leverage, what's next for each of us. Rob also helps out with Fanatics. He any of the products that you see on our fitness site, especially that have ebooks that come with them.
Oh, nice.
He typically creates those.
Oh, cool.
So
Wow, nice.
yeah, so that's one of my. I talked about the meme getting the family to join jiu-jitsu. One of my other kind of proud achievements is not only working for Fanatics, who are fantastic folks to work with, but also getting like a few of my friends, a few of my close friends involved as well, and creating opportunities for them.
In the Fanatics, you mean?
Yeah.
Nice.
I have one of our other black belts, Seth Allison. He every single product he quality checks.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and he does a lot of other stuff, more behind the scenes stuff. I'm more the social media upfront stuff. Sure. Those guys are crucial behind the scenes.
Nice, very cool. And don't sell yourself short on it, Todd, because you're changing lives. You know what I mean? Like that's a huge deal.
We all are.
You know what I mean? Like it's so, essential for people to understand that, like, hey, it's like that little bit of teaching people or giving them, and like you got other people involved with it, and then they get to see their worth and value in what you guys are doing. And then people like my outside self, like a consumer, I look at it and it's like, wow, that's amazing. Like people are putting this together. Like, this is great. Yeah.
It's great. One of my favorite quotes of all time. I always go back to it. I was in a sales job for quite some time, and I crossed paths with this. I don't want to call him a motivational guy, but he kind of falls in that category. His name is Zig Ziglar, and he had a quote that was, I'm going to paraphrase: "If you help enough people get what they want, you'll get everything you want."
Yep, for sure.
It's just how I try to approach things.
And to take it from jiu-jitsu again, it's jiu-jitsu, martial arts in general, really. But you learn that, like you kind of learn that in that process, that humbleness, even though, and Chad's talked about it, like all martial arts, like it keeps you humble, and it keeps you to treat people that way and to give and to help. And it's like, hey, I'm not looking for anything in return. I want you to succeed. You know what I mean? So
100%. Like
it's going to come back.
Yeah. It was interesting this weekend. I knew my promotion was coming, but like at certain points, I just kind of forgot about it. And it was more about my guys getting their black belts, and more about Tom coming and just having a great experience. Because last year was his first one. We had to skip a year due to the situation.
Yeah, right.
And last year was a hard one because his dad had passed away about 72 hours before the seminar. And
oh man, okay.
Typical Tom, like he refused to reschedule. Like I asked him, I suggested it, and he just wasn't going to do it. So that meant a lot to me. That meant a lot to our school, and it just shows how much he cares about the people that are important to him.
Yeah. That's one thing I was thinking about earlier, Todd, when we were talking about rank and people being excited. And I think in jiu-jitsu, we're more excited to see other people get promoted than ourselves, right? A couple weeks ago, and I don't
100%.
I was giving out some stripes, and I have another black belt in the gym, Pete Shock, that we, promote everybody together and all that. And he said, he brought that up, and I'm like, man, I don't even think about it because everybody's clapping and we do our thing, but everybody there was so excited for that white belt to get their first stripe more than them getting their own,
Yeah, it's so awesome to see someone get a new belt. Like it's just, at this time, we've seen everything. There's so much going on in the world, but to see someone change the color of their belt, and man, it's just, that's what keeps me going, to be honest. Like I really think I could care less at this point. I kind of miss being a color belt, like sort of that a little bit less expectations, kind of hanging in the background, and just
nobody expects much from you.
Yeah, I guess it's like life. You wish you would have. I wish I would have smelled the roses a little more in the blue belt time and the purple belt time. But again, it's just kind of romanticizing it. I wouldn't change it.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause it makes you who you are. It doesn't make you a bad person at all in any way of anyone else thinking this way too. But it just, without those, as you said earlier in the show, like things happened, and you wouldn't change those. You wouldn't change bad events in your jiu-jitsu because they make you who you are, and you learn things, and then you can break those chains and pass it on to somebody else,
For sure. There's life events outside of jiu-jitsu that led me to jiu-jitsu.
Right.
You know what I mean? And if I went back and took this job versus this job, I might not have met Bill Jones.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So I consider myself lucky to meet Bill Jones, and he's, still a guy I look to and credit for getting me started. And even my previous instructors, I might not agree with how they did certain things, but without them, I wouldn't be here.
Sure. Right. Exactly. And it's okay to not agree with people, but just to understand it. Like, we live in that world because people, like, on social media, and I'm sure you get to see this all the time, like it's like, okay, it's cool to disagree with them, but don't like attack them. Like, it's like, they're not doing that. You're not doing this right now. You could, if you wanted to, but what purpose does it serve? It doesn't change anything. It doesn't serve a purpose.
Right. Right.
It's a great upside down world that we live in.
For sure.
Do you ever post some memes and just go and ignore them and like don't look at comments, or do you go, all right, this is over the top?
I find myself once in a while getting a little upset about a comment. Not really about. I really don't get. This is going to sound horrible. I really don't get a lot of negative about my memes, and I don't say that like, oh, they're automatically funny, and everyone loves them. But people, it's hard to debate that purple belts skip warm-ups. You know what I mean?
Like, what you're posting isn't a debate.
Yeah.
It's truth.
And every stereotype has a tiny bit of truth in it. And
for sure.
Yeah.
So I don't get a lot of like the angry Reddit style people on my memes, but I don't know. I try not to take anything personally, and honestly, anytime someone comments, that kind of helps the social media page anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean? It shows engagement. So, and that's what America is. Free speech, all that good stuff. Unless it's something like in the Fanatics group, for instance, we've had a couple scenarios where I kind of had to throttle some comments. We had a guy, we had a white belt who posted that he tapped a purple belt, and he used a phrase called micro adjustments.
I remember that. I remember
this.
Yeah.
It went absolute insane. It went everywhere. And it was 100% my fault for approving that post and not really kind of sitting back. But like I said, I have so many, it's hard to like map out the repercussions. But the internet lit up about that. And that kid's coach actually made a video, and I ended up kind of like quashing the situation within the Fanatics group, because it was getting nowhere, and it was getting very personal, the attacks towards him. And it was kind of like, we're going to go to your school kind of stuff. And
oh man,
yeah, just really silly things. And so I kind of keep that
Jim, like
yeah. And I don't let people bash other athletes. You know what I mean? You can kind of criticize their move or their technique or have a comment, but if you're like attacking them personally, it's not gonna fly.
Yeah, that's one thing. Even, being, obviously I absorb as much Jiu Jitsu stuff that I can on social media, not techniques, just information. I'm an old guy. It's like, I'm not learning that right now. I just keep moving on. But I'm like, instantly, if I see like someone attacking like someone personally, it's like, all right, like this personal stuff is just like off the charts. It's like, come on, man. Like, I get it. Like, but I'm not down with the personal stuff either. It's just kind of been my MO. Like, that's why we decided to run the show organically, because we don't want to. It's like,
yeah, there's a lot of people out there that have fun causing drama.
Sure.
That's like their number. That's all they want to do. And I'm not into that at all.
Sure. How big do you think it'll get? Do you think it could keep going? I mean, do you think there's some other avenues or levels that it could go?
The sport?
Yeah, let's say both the sport and Fanatics. I think it's an interesting question, because there are two avenues there.
Yeah, I definitely think with what's going to happen at ADCC this year, and what happened 2 years ago, and the difference. I was at the last one, and it was incredible. And I remember watching videos of athletes on puzzle mats, so just to see in my short amount of time the kind of exponential growth, and again, I hate to give Gordon too much credit, because his head's so big already, but he's a huge part of that, marketing, helping
for sure.
expose make the sport exciting. I think it's got a lot of room to grow. I think it's been growing quite a bit. I'm not one of those guys that thinks no gi is going to overtake and completely get rid of gi.
Right.
I'm always going to be in a gi. I will always prefer it. I'm an old guy, and I need to hold on to something.
I agree.
You and me both.
Fanatics, I think, is going to continue to grow. We have one of my main jobs is growing the judo, wrestling, the striking. We have a fitness site. We have a self-defense site. We have a general sports site that has football, basketball, soccer stuff on it. They're all a lot smaller than the BJJ world.
Sure.
Currently, but they have the potential to be much bigger. So we've just got to find the exact right formula. We've tried to replicate what we did on BJJ, and what's interesting about BJJ, I always compare it to golf, and you see like these 30 and over golfers, they'll spend $800 on a specific club to get an edge, to hit the ball 20 yards farther. That to me is the same thing as buying an instructional.
You're right.
The young kid just smashed my half guard, so I go out and I buy Tom Deblass's half domination so that I can get him next week.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, there's a lot to that. I mean, and I didn't know Fanatics was doing more than jiu-jitsu. I had no idea until you just now saying that, Todd. And now, like, my brain's going off here where I'm thinking, yeah, there's a huge probably ability to have those instructionals across the board, because if someone's looking for an edge, a small tweak or something that they can do, it's a huge benefit. You know what I mean? And it's a benefit to the athletes to make a financial means. Let's be honest.
100%. Like the financial opportunities, when we started were much different than they are today.
Sure.
Even beyond competitions, the fact that these kids, these athletes and coaches can make a product and become relatively wealthy and create residual income for themselves, that's huge. Otherwise, the classic model was try to win the world championships and then open a school. That's a hard path. That's a hard path.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's not getting any cheaper, like to open up a school.
No.
There's definitely more competition. But to go back real quick about the other sports, we just released the very first Mike Tyson instructional today.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up. Yeah,
that's awesome. I did see that.
Yeah. It's going to be huge, or it is huge. It's like there's no words.
Does he have on there how to handle disgruntled airplane folk?
I think
you don't have to tell me. You could just wink and shake your head.
I think down the road, maybe there'll be some outtakes, but I don't know. I hope that situation resolves itself pretty amicably, because I think that guy, I hate to say it, but I think that guy deserved it.
Watch it, and that guy has a lot of other background stuff where he's been in trouble before for very similar stuff. People are going to come after Mike because of who he is, but we as human beings, if we are put in positions where you can only be piled on so much, I'm not saying that his reaction was the right reaction. It's like saying Will Smith had every right to go smack, Chris Rock. But at the end of the day, it's very, very hard to do that, to have that happen. I wouldn't put it past me. I mean, I would watch, and if someone was piling on me that much, there would be a slight interaction. I might not hit the person, but there's probably a little face-to-face happening,
100%. And I don't want that necessarily to color talking about his product. The product's amazing. We were very lucky to also include Rafael Cordero and Henry Cejudo in the product.
Oh, nice. So very cool.
So it's like this power pack of, great striking and MMA minds all mixed together with Mike sharing his experience with the peekaboo system and power punching.
I mean, anyone out there that is, let's say, younger than us, that's never seen Mike Tyson fight, or go YouTube it and watch one of anything. And his obviously he was coached really well, but he absorbed coaching really well. He knew nothing else but boxing. But even today, when you see him at his age move, just showing someone something, you're like, man.
That DVD will sell itself.
Yeah, it will.
For sure. I put a little clip. Together, a little reel today on dynamic striking, and I actually went and got a clip from Mike Tyson's Punch Out, the old Nintendo game.
Oh, yeah, nice. Love that game.
Man, hearing that music took me back. Like I haven't heard it probably for 25 years. So it was like, wow.
It's the only game we had to play in Nintendo that was a fighting game, unless you had
play Kung Fu.
I was gonna say Kung Fu, the double Kung Fu. That was it. Yeah. The backflip, kick, high kick. I think that was all we had. We didn't really have anything else.
That's probably it.
Yeah, that was such an iconic game.
Yeah.
It's like the first, I still have it in the Nintendo down in the basement. I tease the kids because all my kids are younger and they have played it, but it's not called Mike Tyson's Punch Out anymore. It's called Punch Out, but I have an original Mike Tyson's Punch Out from Nintendo. It's actually in the Nintendo because I just went like a couple weeks ago. They were talking about it, and I went downstairs and looked, and I was like, "Oh wow, that's still in there." With like an inch of dust on it. I'm like, "Oops." Yeah, it's all good.
Just blow on it.
That's right. Remember that?
That'll work. Absolutely.
Push in, push to the side slightly, and it worked. And you were like, "I knew the trick." Yeah, it never changed either. It went from Nintendo to Nintendo.
The good old days. Yeah.
That was the good old days for sure, man. It was the good times. So awesome. Well, a lot of good stuff, man. It was
Yeah, absolutely.
it's awesome hanging out with you. Chad, hey, when did you guys meet? Did you guys just kind of meet
I
through
don't even know.
chat, or
Just
did you
through
meet
social
physical?
media, probably, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like we've crossed paths at I want to say a couple events in the past. I've never been down your way. I've always wanted to go down your way. So it's like for like 3 years, I live in Pennsylvania, right on the border of Ohio.
Oh, okay,
and I used to work in Akron, so I was always in Akron, Canton area, and I think I like burned myself out on that drive. Like I never go that way anymore.
I feel you, man. Like I work with guys who drive from PA and the border over there, and we work in Akron. I work for a tire company in Akron, and so they drive all the time. But now we've been working from home for the last 2 years. So.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. I've been really lucky. The last June of 2020, so June during the whole situation, I was able to kind of go full time with Fanatics. So
nice.
I'm very lucky that that's all I do now, and in addition to helping at Leverage. So I have to pinch myself a lot because I don't really feel like I have a job.
You do. You're passing great information on to people and making them better, man. Like think of all those people that like today, you know, Sunday class, and look how long you've been putting that together. So, I mean, that's huge. And you know this from being in the community.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel like work. That's
right.
You know, it's not a drag.
Sure. Work never should feel like work. Like it should feel like, in reality, let's be honest. So like I talk about work and stuff, but I actually really love what I do. I love it a lot, even though it brings me sometimes I have to be super busy and stuff. But my grandfather told me when I was young, he said, if you wake up every day and you're just like, oh, I have to go to work and all this, he was like, you quit. He goes, the only way you ever get through life is that you need to find something that you love doing all the time and then find a way to get paid doing it. It's like, okay,
yeah,
cool.
Absolutely. It's funny that I put these little pictures and these little quotes on images, and I somehow turned that into a career. Like I just have to, I pinch myself.
It's a beautiful world.
It's a beautiful world for sure, man. Very cool. What's your favorite thing to teach?
Half guard.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a half guard player before I started being connected with Tom Deblass.
Mm-hmm.
I think my biggest influence before Tom was probably Rafael Lovato. So nice. I also do some stuff on the side for Rafael for his he has a timelessjiujitsu.com
nice. Okay.
Website. And so I've known him since over 10 years, and he was a huge part of the Hibero Association when I was part of it, and I got to train at his school a couple times, and he's just an amazing guy. And I would say like pressure from the Hiberos and Rafael, pressure passing. I'm really right now going back and really studying Bernardo's game a lot.
Okay.
Bernardo just fascinates me. He's the sweetest guy in the world, but when he over underpasses you, you know, your soul leaves your body. It's just ridiculous. And to win 5 world championships with a handful of moves, it's just incredible to me. And so I'm really going back, and I think once I got my black belt, I realized, hey, I got to go back and I got to fill in some gaps, because I think in the past, at least a lot of my experience was we would learn a move and we would learn a closed guard triangle, right? And we'd leave for the day, and maybe like 6 months later, we'd do the closed guard triangle again. But it was so hard to get somebody in a closed guard triangle because all of the things had to line up perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And as a black belt, I've made a concerted effort to be like, right now I'm working deep half guard. And so today, we looked at all the crappy positions you could get stuck in and how you could get to deep half from there.
Okay.
So my goal was, hey, here's deep half guard. It's kind of this oasis where you can kind of catch your breath and look around and see what you want to do. And we looked at like deep half from the mount, deep half from knee on belly, just like a little more conceptual, but just showing people that it doesn't have to be 68 degrees. Your hips don't have to be perfect to get this triangle. You can make it happen. You can get there. There's different ways to get to Akron, so to speak.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And Chad, you've told me that many a times. Like in train, like obviously there's many other avenues to get there, but get the whole, or get the big picture first. Get that whole concept first, and then tweak the hips, tweak this and that stuff. That can come, but you need to get. How do I get out of this? Because I'm still in that boat to where I'll be in positions and I'm like, I'm not 100% sure what to do from here. Like I can try to fight it and muscle it, but I'm very much against that. I'm like, I don't want to do that. Like, yeah, I'm gonna be honest with myself and everybody else listening that Terry does muscle things if I have to.
We all do. We're all guilty of that
for sure. And then you're like, but afterwards I'll go, man, depending on who I'm rolling with, like if definitely a center belt, they are always so good at the gym. Obviously, we have a great gym at East Coast. They're like, hey, when you were in this position, you could have done this, or I will ask, hey, like I was here, I was in between half guard and deep half, and I was like, do I keep going or do I back out?
The dreaded gray area.
Yeah. I use a phrase a lot. Like there's certain people I love to roll with because they take me to bad neighborhoods. They take me places I haven't seen, nor did I want to go to. And I kind of have to face it and work my way home. And I really enjoy, like, there's certain people that know exactly what I'm going to do. I know exactly what they're going to do. But then there's those folks that they're maybe a little more eccentric and they'll do something weird. And I'm just like, I love that because it shows me something I've never seen.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it that.
It's jiu-jitsu.
I was going to say, I mean, there's no other better way. I'm trying to find a better way of words.
No, it's just what it is, right?
Jiu-jitsu, man, for sure. Yep. Yeah, that's awesome. All right, Todd. Well, we've been hanging out with you for more than an hour, brother. I know we took a lot of your time and we appreciate it so much. Do this. Chad, do you have anything else?
No.
Okay. So. Shout out everything you want, brother. Everything and anything you want. It'll be in all the show notes as always.
Awesome,
the meme master.
Give us a follow at Leverage BJJ on Instagram. We're also Leverage Brazilian Jiu Jitsu on Facebook. Give us a follow. Obviously follow Tom Deblass. If you're not following Tom Deblass, I don't think you do jiu-jitsu, to be honest. And obviously, get in the Fanatics Facebook group, comment, post things, interact, check out there's so much free stuff and there's so many different sales that are always going on. It's just a beautiful time to be in jiu-jitsu. Like there's so much knowledge and there's just so many cool people, thriving today. I tell my students, it was like 4 years, I think, before I did a straight ankle lock or was taught one. And, we've got white belts that know how to heel hook people. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's evolved so much. And I give a lot of credit to I feel like Michael Zenga and Bernardo Faria, with their Fanatics idea, they've changed the game.
Yeah.
They've completely changed the sport, made it better.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Chad you were just talking about this like a week ago, like me being a three-stripe white belt. I have everything at my disposal and
more,
everyone
yeah.
and more. Like I can consume as much as I want, overwhelm whatever I want to do. You guys didn't have that, Chad and a lot of guys that came up through the different areas and eras, like, from West Coast to East Coast, less gyms as you came across, the US. It's huge now. Like you have everything. I do. I have everything.
Yeah.
Like you guys didn't. So
my advice for somebody like you, and I'm sure Chad tells you the same type of thing. One of the things I wish people would have told me was focus on the forever techniques. Focus on the things. For me, it's half guard. For me, it's pressure passing. Those are the things you're going to be doing. How old you're going to be 45?
I'll be 45. May 9th. So next Monday. Everyone out there, we're recording the show a little early, which we do.
Bernardo's game, Tom Deblass's game. Those are things you're going to be doing when you're 65. You know what I mean? So find that stuff and get that stuff in your wheelhouse. Might not be perfect, but
So what I did, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, try to get really good at a handful of moves early, and then once you're a black belt, then start like, hey, I want to go into this crazy move or something, or this
and go down that path.
Type of guard. Yeah.
I was gonna say, so when the whatever pandemic, whatever we're referring to, when we all were like, what the heck's going on? When Bernardo put out on Fanatics, like he gave a free, like a huge, I literally like I was like, you know what? Because when I started, I had 9 classes and then we had to shut down. And it was like,
wow.
So I was like, hey, I'm going to download this and just watch, like from the very beginning. Like it was all simple, but it was awesome. And he gave that free to everyone because of what was happening and no one was getting the train. So
like you'll see his stuff. And I'll admit, there was a time where I was like, oh, his game's super simple. But I'm like, man, that dude won 5 championships
with that game.
And he's a guy that no matter what you throw at him, he's going to find a way to suck you into the funnel of half guard.
Yeah.
Like you're going to half guard, no matter how good your takedowns are. Yep. He's gonna soar over to you and fall on the ground and suck you down. Like it's amazing. And next thing you know, he's over underpassing you. He might pepper in an omoplata.
It's like when Chad and I roll. He doesn't say it. And in my head, I'm like, there's 5 minutes on the clock or 6 minutes on the clock. Well, I'm getting tripod swept once. My goal is not to. My goal is like not one time. And then if I get once and we're done, and I'm like, sweet, I only got tripod swept one time. Well, that's another thing I always tell my students. Like, their goal is not necessarily to tap me. Their goal should be like to not tap to me. They've got to set realistic goals. And sometimes, when you first start out, making it through a 6-minute round without dying, that's a huge victory. And you should go home feeling as such. That's how I take every night. I'm harder on myself. It's not that getting choked or getting armbarred or whatever have you, whatever move ends up like a submission. I'm never upset about that at all. I'm upset at myself. I'm upset at myself for not reacting or making a move when I should have made a move. That's where I always get, like, for me, that's where my turmoil ends up being. It's not like, oh, that guy tapped me 5 times. It's like, I don't care about that. Just tap and move. Like, I just want to keep going.
Yeah, that's a thing that Tom preaches. Don't accept. It's okay to get tapped, but don't accept it. Like, do your best not to accept
Not
that.
to
And,
it, right.
that goes down to like getting your guard passed. Like for Tom, he says having your guard passed is like being killed. You should treat it that seriously. And it's just, that's his way to show like every little step of jiu-jitsu is important. That he always preaches like perfect technique. You know, yeah.
Nice.
He's been such a great influence on me.
That's good though.
That's
and
awesome,
that's you have to have that in this to do this. I mean, I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't be doing a podcast about jiu-jitsu if it wasn't for Chad, like getting me, like just in general, like talking to people and like meeting people like you, so it's awesome. Very cool. So do you got anything else any other things you want to shout out, Todd?
Let me think. Rafael Lovato, Timeless Jiu-Jitsu. That's another great resource out there. All of his instructionals on Fanatics are absolutely incredible. They're worth twice the price. He's one of those, he was doing it well before Fanatics. He had instructionals, and he's always been ahead of the curve, and he's just a great guy. So I stress with people, find an athlete that you can really look to for inspiration. And the beauty of the sport is drop them a message. I'm not saying they're going to get back to everybody, but Tom answered me when I messaged him the first time, and 6-7 years later, he's still one of my best friends.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And that's, we do live in a world where like I can't message LeBron James and be like, hey man, you want to go shoot some hoops or just get some coffee?
Help me with my jumper.
Yeah.
In that respect, I kind of hope jiu-jitsu never gets too big.
Right. Yeah.
But
sure.
Because it's very accessible, and if you pass LeBron in the street, you wouldn't necessarily want to run over and try to get a photo.
Right.
But if you see Tom Deblass at an airport, he would gladly stop and talk to you and say hi.
Yeah.
And that point, and we're so humble, I would say majority, to be like, hey, how you doing? Just want to say
it all goes back to what you said earlier, Todd, with that immediate icebreaker. I do jiu-jitsu. Done.
Yeah, for sure. I've run into so many people at random places that have a jiu-jitsu shirt, have a Gracie symbol on their shirt, and I'm just like, man, where do you train? Like, it's cool. It's very, very cool.
Yeah,
for sure.
Cool. Well, thanks, Todd. Keep up the great
thank
work,
you, man,
and everything that you're doing.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Definitely.
I appreciate it. I'll make sure to share it everywhere I have available, and
appreciate that.
Get my face out there a little more.
Sweet. Yes. But just hold that stripe up. Just hold it up. Just to be like, hey.
Yeah, exactly.
What's up?
You know who I am?
Yeah. All right, my brother. So nice meeting you. God bless you, man, and everything you're doing. Appreciate you. Thank you. We'll see you.
Take care.
Thanks, Todd.
All
Later.
Right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.